There's nothing more frustrating than being a man who's already spent time building up financial success in either his business or career. He isn't even a bad looking man either. And he probably already has confidence in these other areas of his life, yet he doesn't have the type of girl that he's really attracted to, that he really desires to be with him in his life. And I've already worked with over 700 men since I started coaching back in 2018, but a lot of these guys, they're actually really solid men. Some of them are actually physically attractive. Others are financially successful. Some of them are charismatic, like even more charismatic than me, maybe even a combination. Except with each of these different types of men, they all seem to be doing 1 to 2 things incorrectly that if we just tweak those things, they would actually get success and actually have the dating life they truly desire. I've boiled it down to 3 different types of successful men that don't actually get the women that they really want. Some of these guys get no women at all. And for those of you that aren't quite there yet, you still want to avoid doing these things as you continue to progress and evolve as a man. So let's go over the 3 different types of successful men, and I'm gonna reveal the biggest problems that I see with each of these types. And then at the end of this video, I'm actually gonna show you guys exactly what each of these archetypes of men needs to do right now to actually get success. So as we're going through this video, let me know in the comments down below, which archetype of dude do you resonate with the most? So number 1 is what I call the attractive man. And this is actually a very common archetype of client that I deal with. He's a very physically good-looking, attractive dude. He actually gets a decent amount of attention from women, but he can't do cold approach. He cannot go up and approach women. And his whole life, he's been getting attention from women, but it's not really the hottest women. It's not the women that he truly desires. But since he's always been getting attention, he's been metaphorically fed the 7s, the 7.5s, occasionally maybe even an 8, but he doesn't ever go after the girls that he really, really wants. And that's his biggest problem right there, is he won't actually go up and make the approach. And that's primarily because he has an ego that has been built up over his life, because he's always been the attractive dude and women have always wanted him. And so he's always got the women that have already wanted him and shown interest. So he has an identity built up as a successful, attractive dude who gets women. And for him to then go out and do cold approach would mean that he has to risk potentially facing rejection, which isn't aligned with everything he's experienced in his life till this point. And a lot of guys like this, they may not actually have the desire to even want to improve this area of their life, because they've always been fed to some extent, until that one girl that's really attractive comes into their life and they realize, I didn't have the balls to go up and approach, or she rejected me, or I don't actually know how to get the girl if she's not already showing massive interest. That's typically when the switch will get flipped for a guy like this, or he's been dating so many of these okay women for so long, and at some point he's just kind of getting fed up with the low to mid quality, and he knows deep down he really wants a quality partner at some point to live the rest of his life with. And this guy in particular has a very specific route that he needs to go down, and I'm gonna explain exactly what that should be in just a couple of minutes. But for now, let's move into the second archetype of man, which is what I would call the career guy or the business guy. This is the type of dude who spent all of his time pretty much just building up his career, building up his business. And I'm gonna actually split this second type into a subcategory A, which is the CEO or executive, or B, I would call the career man, the CEO/executive guy. This dude definitely has some level of confidence because he's so successful in his life. So he has confidence, he has social confidence, he has charisma, he has some level of leadership even within his business, but he never saw dating as the real priority in his life because he spent all of his time just going all out building the business. His problem was simply not prioritizing this area of his life, and so he never really built it up, which needs attention just like any other business would. Now, obviously not anywhere near as much time, especially if you know what you're doing, but this didn't really become a priority for a guy like that until he already got success inside of his business. And now, as he's maturing and getting older and he's already got the financial success, this is becoming more and more obvious that it is a problem that needs to be solved. Part B of number 2 is going to be the career man, which is a slightly different archetype. And the men like this, I've noticed, have a slightly different archetype than the CEO or executive. These guys typically have less social confidence and less charisma and less leadership, just given the nature of what their job and their industry is. And so for that reason, as they're progressing into their late 20s or their 30s or maybe even 40s, they're realizing that they never really got this area of their life solved, and they need to be putting more attention into this now, because they're almost getting to this breaking point of wondering, Is it too late for me? Can I still get success in this area of my life? I'm missing the window of the prime years of my life now. Moving into archetype number 2, part A, the businessman, the executive, the CEO. He has some level of confidence. He has some level of financial success. He's a leader in other areas of his life. He just hasn't put the time into this area of his life yet. And for a man like this, it's really gonna be about setting aside a couple different time blocks throughout your week where you could actually put attention into going out, interacting with girls, going on dates, and really working on these skill sets. And it does not need to be going out till 4 a.m. getting drunk on the weekends. I know a lot of dudes who run a business don't want to do nighttime. You don't need to do nighttime if you don't want to. It depends on your lifestyle, but it is going to be prioritizing time for this area of your life and at least doing a little bit a couple times a week, whether that's in person or online, to build the skill sets, to meet women, to go on dates, to be with the type of girls that you really want to be with. And honestly, I like working with guys like this too, because they never made excuses in their business. They always found a way to get it done. And they've probably already had mentors even in their business, and that's why they've had so much success already. So when I take a high-level dude like this, it's very plug and play. We give him a structure, we block out some time, we have the accountability in check so we can prioritize these things, and we focus on 1 to 2 things at a time. And a guy like this can progress very quickly because he has the ambition and the drive. He just needs the structure, the guidance, and the accountability. And not to sound cliche, but honestly, out of all the archetypes, I think this dude literally needs my coaching the most because he has the money, he has a business, he has all this success, he just doesn't have the time. So you don't want to spend so much time with trial, error, confusion, frustration. You should actually pay somebody to have structure, accountability, guidance to fast track the results, because time is the one thing you don't have as a busy, successful dude. The next subcategory of archetype number 2 is the career man. And this type of guy needs a little bit more work, typically, from my experience. A lot of these tech dudes and other industries like that, they haven't really built up the confidence or the charisma. And so we oftentimes need to do that, as well as optimizing their look, working on their communication and their vibe. And it's doing all of those things simultaneously that's really gonna get a guy like that success. He may also need to optimize his look somewhat, so we may also need to put time into his communication and his vibe. But a dude like this usually is not putting himself out there socially that much. He's not going into that many social environments because of his job and because of him always focusing on his career. He doesn't have that much of a social life. And so we're gonna need to be a little bit more deliberate, giving him some structure to go out in person and work on interactions, and maybe even simultaneously stacking on some online dating, because even if he's just getting a little bit from both, that's enough to get some momentum going and ultimately lead to success. And lastly, for archetype number 3, the charismatic man. This dude essentially, he really lacks the skill set of building attraction. That's really his main problem. He's already charismatic, he's already social, he's had some previous dating experience, he's good with girls that are already into him. He just can't do the flirt and the sexy stuff and the escalation stuff with girls that he doesn't already know. And that's exactly what he needs to be focusing on. So whether that's going out during the daytime and doing cold approach and practicing opening, displaying intent, injecting flirtatiousness, moving towards asking the girl out, getting phone numbers, running dates that way. It could be going out during the nighttime environments too, doing the same things, but also practicing escalation and leading and the other elements that nighttime can also help you with. And maybe even a combination of online dating, because spending time with girls on dates, practicing flirtatiousness, escalating, being sexual, getting sexy on dates and stuff is also a good practice. So a combination of those things, depending on what's aligned with his lifestyle and the time he has to put into this. So all of these different elements will help you get success with women, but regardless which archetype you are, you're gonna need to get better at running dates. At some point, no matter which archetype you are, if you're going out, you're interacting with girls and you wanna get into a quality relationship and meet a girl you really like, you're gonna need to get good at running dates. And if you're not already doing that, that is a necessary skill set. So when you do meet the girl that you really like, you can actually crush that first date. In order to make sure you do that properly, you're gonna wanna watch this video right here. And then for anybody that's interested in actually working with me directly, all right, I like working with successful men that know how to actually go out, take action, and execute. I have a brand new coaching program for 2025. You can work with me one-on-one right now, guys. Click the link down below, fill out the application for an opportunity to work with me personally so I can fast track your results regardless of which archetype you are. That's all for this video, guys. Peace out.